Welcome to Using Your Teacher Voice, episode 16. Have you ever had one of those days where things just kind of came together and clicked and it all made sense? That happened to me a couple days ago. It started actually about 3 weeks ago. I was at the Google Summit in Franklin, Indiana, put on by the EdTech team. Really good conference, really inspirational and a lot of things going on. You got to get invigorated and a lot of things you can do. You learn there, you go back to your classroom and start using the next day, right? So really good, recommend those. But I went to Jesse Lubinsky's Learn Google Forms Like a Jedi, and then his Become a Jedi Master in Google Sheets. Now, I'm pretty comfortable in Forms, and I really like all the things that Forms can do for a classroom. It's probably the number one Google app for Ed tool that they have. But I may not be a Jedi Master in Sheets, but I've definitely spent some time in the Jedi Temple with Sheets. I can make Sheets do a lot of things that I wanted to do. But anyway, he talked about boiling it down to this kind of idea, that they're just tools, that you have to start with the concept of what is it that you want to work with? What is the data you need? And then you create the form to collect that data in the correct format. Then once it gets to Sheets, the question is, how do you get that data out to the right people in a way that they can use? And I thought that was really interesting because I've seen a lot of people, they create these forms, they're really easy to do, but the data may not be that easy for them, or they may be grabbing the wrong kind of data. So, I really thought that was a great point, that it is getting the right data and then getting it back out to the right people in a way they can use. So, fast forward about 2 weeks. The other day, my dean of students emailed me and was just wanting to clarify a student's attendance. She went to a doctor's appointment. She had been marked absent all day. She said that she went to a doctor's appointment, first block, and came late to second block, which is my class, and then was there the rest of the day. But she'd been counted absent all day. So the dean just, emailed all the teachers, like, hey, all of her teachers that day, hey, just, what's going on, right? So I went back and I looked up. Ironically, it was the day before that Google Summit I just mentioned. And I looked on there and I had counted her absent. I saw that she took the quiz online, which ironically, again, was a Google form. She did it on the same day and basically the same time as everyone else. So I just emailed him back. I said, hey, she probably was there. She took the quiz like everyone else at the right time. She must have come in late without a pass, and I didn't email to clarify. And by the way, and then I just added, by the way, she misses a lot of my classes for doctor's appointments. I show that she's been absent 12 times this semester since January 1st. So I fire that email off. And then I go across the hall to the special ed office, because I know she's special ed. And I just wanted to double check with her TOR, her teacher of record, just to kind of raise that flag, right? So I go over there and I ask the TOR, and I was like, hey, I don't know what's up here. I don't need to know what's up really, but she's missed a lot of my classes for doctor's appointments. So, the TOR pulls up the attendance, and, she can see a different screen than I can. My access is different than hers. And so she pulls it up. It's basically the view that the students and the parents would see. And she pulls up the information, and sure enough, she had been marked absent 15 times this semester. So since January 1st, she had been absent 15 times. Of those 15 times, one of them was for all day. The other 14 were all doctor's excuses. They were all cleared as medical or doctor's excuse. And all of them had been for first and second block. So morning absences. Well, but when we looked a little bit closer, of those 14, 12 of them were gray days. That's the day that I have her on gray days. We're on block schedule. So you wouldn't have the same class like every Monday. It'd rotate back and forth, right? All of her doctor's excuses, 14 of them, or 12 of the 14, were on gray days. And they weren't like on Mondays or on Tuesdays or something like that. They were just all over the place. So, it kind of appeared that if they were, doctor's excuses, and they were all doctor's notes, if they were doctor's appointments, it was kind of like she was setting up those days, or someone was setting up those appointments, and they were primarily falling on gray days. So the teacher of record goes, well, yeah, I need to look into this. This is kind of weird. How is your grade in your classes? Well, it's definitely lower this semester. You know, she did well first semester. I think that, you know, I know that her grades this semester are lower, primarily because of fourth quarter, she hadn't turned in or completed the research assignment. So we pull up the grades in my class, and sure enough, she had B's across the board first semester. Second semester, she had a C for third quarter, pretty low C actually, like a 71% or something. And then fourth quarter was a solid F, mainly because she hadn't turned in the research paper. So, you know, obviously a significant drop in grades. Now the TOR again has different, you know, access than I do. And she pulled up all of her grades in all of her classes. And sure enough, across the board, second semester grades were lower than first. Grade day grades were significantly lower, on the order of like 2-letter grades on average. So the teacher of record's like, well, I'd better check into this. Thanks for letting me know. So when I left, you know, it kind of first off bothered me, like, how come I didn't see this, right? How come I didn't see this? Well, and again, not to justify or, you know, absolve myself, but, you know, I know why I didn't notice anything or you really worry about the absences was because they were all cleared. They were all doctor's excuses. They were all doctor's excuses. And I only saw her gray days. I never saw, you know, that she wasn't missing blue days, right? And then, you know, the grade thing, again, you know, not to, you know, I can't really absolve myself of not seeing this, you know, but on the grades, you know, I know that, you know, we kind of were using a lot of little assignments building up to the research, you know, and then the research has a whole bunch of points and a lot of different moving pieces that we're all kind of due at the same time. So if you hadn't have done those, it would have brought your grade down pretty significantly. So, you know, I mean, I should have seen those things, but, you know, it probably took, you know, 2 or 3 of those consecutive events to put all that together, right? So then I started looking at my information screens and thinking, like, okay, how come someone else didn't see this? Like, how come attendance didn't see this? That's kind of weird. She's missing the same days over and over. Or how come, you know, the TOR, and again, not to throw the TOR or the secretaries under the bus or anything, but how come nobody noticed this drop in grades? On my information screen, I could see certain pieces of data, right? But it wasn't complete data. It wasn't complete data. I could see her I could see the grades that were submitted for report cards, like on quarters and semesters, and I could see a snapshot grade. Like what she currently has right now in different classes, but it doesn't tell me like how many are missing assignments or low scores or anything like that. And then all of a sudden, as I'm sitting there trying to figure this out, it dawned on me what I had heard in that, you know, Jesse Lubinsky's. It's all about getting the right data into the right place in the right format, and then getting it out to teachers or getting it out to people in a way that makes sense. If I'm looking at my information screen, and again, I know some of these things are, you know, cobbled together from different layers and different, you know, legacy programs and whatever. I get that. But when I look at, like, attendance data, I can see my class, and I can see, you know, how my class's attendance was, you know, deemed excused, truant, or whatever. But if I look at how many days a person misses in any of their classes, I get a picture graph. It's a picture graph generated by the data, and it says the class listed on the left, a bar, and then a number next to it. This person had missed this class X number of times. Same thing with current snapshot grades. I got to see the grades, but it was in a picture format. And it was a percentage. So a class, a bar graph, and a percentage. When I look down to report card grades, the grades that were submitted for report cards, it's an HTML text table. If I look down at testing data, which I've used testing data before, especially to look up Lexiles, it's a big list. It just lists. It's text in a kind of a chart kind of looking thing. There's no way to copy and paste it, you know, into a spreadsheet and get it into a format that I could use or sort or whatever, compare. It's just all, little boxes with like a label, and the box right below it is a number. And there's like, 5 of those across and 10 of those down. It's not in a very good format to use. And I don't want to be that data teacher. I don't want to be that guy that makes all their decisions based solely on the data, right? I don't want to be that person. But I do know that there are some very real reasons to use data. And I know that, we need to find a way to use some of that, to find the useful data and to be able to use that. But then I question, why don't I do this? Why haven't I done this? Why haven't I looked these things up? And the question is pretty clear. It's because it's not easy. If all these pieces of data are in different formats and in different, styles, and they're not all in one place, and you can't compare pieces, that you need to compare pieces to, it doesn't make any sense. And if it's going to be too hard, or if it's going to involve too much work, it's not going to be effective. It's not going to be useful. So again, I don't know if I know the answer to that. The nice thing about, things like this is you can raise those questions. You don't necessarily have to fix it, because I have an idea of how to fix it, but I don't have the technical ability to do so. But those are the things. And if teachers are going to be expected to use this data more, and we have access to it already, then the question is, how can we get it to a place that really makes it useful?